What up? Living Vibrations here. Today, just been noticing a lot. Well, past few days, I just noticed a lot of people's testimonies and stuff like that online. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of my testimony. I'll probably do that over the next few days or so. But you know, as a kid, I grew up in the church. It was more of a religious thing. There wasn't a lot of Holy Spirit moving. I felt the Holy Spirit like once when I was a kid, and I was crying and stuff like that. But it just it never really happened again. Fast forward, you know, over the years, you know, the media and sex, they imprint this thing on kids' minds. You know, sex is like, you have to have sex. Like, it's the most pleasurable thing out there in the world. And, you know, sex is great, especially, you know, when you're married. Like, it's even more beautiful than you can ever think, because it's done in a way it's supposed to be done. But, you know, the evil, you know, Satan out there, he tries to pervert all things. He does. And so, of course, you know, the media and all that, they pervert it. And sex, like, ruined my mind as a you know, a teenager. And, you know, and growing up in the church, didn't really help me at all, because it wasn't a lot of the time it was just a religious environment. People judged each other. You know, I live in the Bible Belt in South Carolina, and it's like, it's hard to meet actual, I mean, they're out there, good Christian, you know, loving, you know, Jesus following people out there, but they're few and far between a lot of the time. Especially, you know, when I was growing up back in the 90s, there wasn't a big spirit movement going around. And so when I was 12 years old, I smoked weed for the first time, and I didn't really feel anything that I remember of. I was with some of my friends and my brother. And then, you know, as time goes on, just like, I was trying to find out who I was and stuff like that. You go through the same old things. And God was always there. Even though I treated him like crap, I didn't talk to him. I treated my family, didn't respect them. I wanted to, like, run away. I thought I had life so bad because my mom wanted me to do some chores. Like, who knows really what the frick I was thinking. But, and then in high school, you know, right in the middle of freshman year, I met one of my best friends ever. We were on the same wrestling team. My brother was on that wrestling team, and on that same wrestling team, and all of us used to hang out. And I started smoking weed like every single day, you know. And so it was just like a thing. That's just what I did. I smoked weed every single day, like ridiculous. And so that's where I found my identity. I started just, like, you know, forgetting really about God. Like, I even went on a mission. I would still go to church sometimes and stuff, and I even went on a mission trip that year in the summer, and between 9th and 10th grade to, it was like an in-country mission trip, but we, I think with the year before that, we shingled a person's house, and then the year after that, we painted a lady's house, and I think we were in Tennessee. And, so, but, you know, after that, after the 9th grade summer, after that, I kind of put Jesus on the back burner. My whole 10th grade year was just smoking weed, you know, just having fun, getting in trouble, doing whatever the freak I wanted to do, you know. And I guess I just didn't really care. Like, you know, if someone asked me if I believe in God, I'd say, yeah, I believe in God. If someone asked me if I was going to go to heaven, I'd say, yeah, I'm going to go to heaven. You know, and that's one thing that God has really showed me, you know, about. There's a verse of the Bible that really is mistaken, and it's John 3:16, and it says, whosoever believeth in me shall not perish but have everlasting life. But if you look up that old word in Greek, which is the original form it was written in, it means to trust in. And, you know, say you're blindfolded, and there's a man in front of you, and he's like, hey, there's a staircase down here, I need you to take a step right now. But you're like, oh, I believe you, but I'm not going to do anything. Is that really believing? Is that faith? If you just don't do what they ask because, you know, because you actually don't trust in him. So if we really trust in God, you know, we take heed of the things that he has put in the word, the things that he has said over us and over our lives. We take heed in those things, and we have actions toward becoming who he created us to be. We can't just stay in the same mess, or just get worse and worse and worse, or just not really pay attention to him at all, or what he said, you know. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I said that I believe, but I mean, honestly, I was just doing the frick I wanted to do, you know. There was no relationship between me and the Father. And in the 10th grade year, I was like, we got in trouble. We were like, there was this lake that was like closed. It wasn't like it was a private lake. It was for like measuring rainwater. And recently there had been like a fire over there, so the DNR was patrolling, and me and my brother and one of my friends, we were getting high, taking some gravities out in the woods, and this DNR agent rolls up and we like kick the bucket over and like throw our stuff. And thank God for somehow my brother had his weed in a little like film canister, the little, you know, the small film canisters, and he didn't find it. And so I think he had a bowl in there too. I guess he just didn't want to give us a ticket because we were young, and so he kind of just gave us a trespassing tickets. And at that time my parents were having a really hard time. My dad had lost his job, he couldn't really work. You know, we had to, you know, go to the food pantry places to get free food because we couldn't qualify for like food stamps or anything, because we technically made too much money even though we never had enough money. And so I did not only did I not want to get in trouble, but I did not want to tell, you know, pressure or make them have to pay for it. So I decided to steal some stuff from the school during summer school, to a projector and like a couple scales. They thought I was mixing drugs because I stole like a scale and some chemical mixers, but I really didn't know it was a chemical mixer. I thought it was another scale. I was gonna sell it all. They called me, and eventually, you know, I went to alternative school and I learned a lot about authority there. It was really good for me. You know, I learned a lot about authority, and I had some good times, some bad times there. Met some friends and stuff like that. But about 3/4 of the way through, in 10th grade, I think for the first time I was like 15, almost 16, and I had tried ecstasy for the first time, and that was like the second, you know, drug that I ever tried besides marijuana. And I had a lot of fun, honestly. It was amazing, but like at the time I didn't understand like the terrible aspects of it, like the way it's made, what it does to your brain. Like the feeling is just so, you know, it's such a false feeling of love and stuff like that. It's not good, it's not real, it's you know, it's an awful thing. And then so when I was about 16 and a half or so, midway through, and around December, my birthday's in May, I think it was winter time, I did mushrooms for the first time. Oh boy, we were on our way up, sorry about that. So we did mushrooms for the first time, and man, it just opened my mind so much to God, and he really hit me hard. Like I was just scared out of my mind. I thought I was dying. Like, you know, like I experienced like this crazy thing. Like I just remember closing my eyes trying to escape, and when I did that, I saw like, you know, not an infinite amount, but just hundreds of me looking back at myself and just screaming, you know, like there's no escaping this. You have to deal with this stuff in your life. And, you know, I just remember God just showing me all the things I was taking for granted in my life, you know, and all the things that all the things I said but didn't actually do. And he just opened my mind to this whole actual spiritual realm that's out there, that there are these things tugging and pulling at me and pulling at every single person, and a lot of the times we can't even realize that they're doing it because we can't feel it, you know. And until we open up and we seek God and we love God and we hold him close and he reveals these things to us, our spirit grows, and it grows more sensitive when we can understand these things, you know, and we can start actually speaking truth into the world and stuff like that. And so I'm just going to take you up to a certain time and not take you too much further, and I'll pick it back up later. But so that continued, you know, even though God showed me, there was still so much, you know, I just wasn't ready to fully commit to him. It wasn't the time for me. And so I kept doing that stuff, and I kept seeing more and more of the spiritual world. I remember one night looking up at the stars, and like there were these things in the stars, and I could tell that they were real entities. They were actual things that were not of this realm, but they were here in this realm, and they were in the stars, and their faces were the stars, and they, you know, perverted the stars, and they were looking at me, and they took shapes. And I just saw this vision of me and my friends, and we were all hanging out and stuff, and it was this good time, and we were all having a good time, and it was like they were trying to tell me that's what life's all about. Just have a good time, man. Just have a real good time. That's what life's all about. And then like there was this wisdom that had been planted in me a long time ago that rose up, and I was just like, no, that's not what life is all about. That's not what life is all about at all. And it was like they couldn't break through that wisdom. What that wisdom was, it was seeds that my family and that my grandma and that people had prayed over me and planted over me so that I wouldn't be deceived by these things. And they got mad, and those beings of light quickly turned into beings of darkness, you know, and anger and just rage. And so then fast forward, you know, I'm still in that stuff, and God is, you know, I'm in college, and God is still dealing with me. I went to a music festival actually right before college, and I had a lot of fun, and it was this awesome, beautiful thing, and I was, you know, dancing around. I love dancing, man. I'll have to show you the video or something of me sometime dancing if I can manage it. If I can find one or make one or something. But so, and then God was just showing me all these things in these people's lives, and this hurt and this pain all over the place. And these people, they think they see this thing, because these things, they don't even know what is playing with them and what is pulling at them and it's just a big show. It's a big show. And in college, God was really pulling at my heart. And this is what I met. I met my wife in college, and God was really pulling at my heart. And it wasn't until I met my wife in college that I really started to understand who God was. And I was still trying to come to terms with no, you know, not doing hallucinogens and not smoking weed, because I was still smoking weed every single day. I love smoking weed. It got me through, you know. I smoked weed, went to class, I got good grades, you know. I made A's and B's. I made like a C in math or something like that one year, but that was it, you know. And I made pretty good grades, and I was a functional pothead. Like, I wasn't, you know, that's what I did, and I didn't see in the Bible, you know. And then I was reading the Bible one time, and after me and it was my girlfriend at the time, she had gotten pregnant, and we had already talked about marriage. I knew that she was the one for me. God had showed that to me, even in my mess. And I was reading the Bible one day, and I believe it was I could be wrong here, but I want to say it was in 1 Corinthians. And it was talking about, Paul was talking about eating food offered to false idols. And he was like, because that's not something that Jewish people did, it was a sin. And Paul was like, look, it's okay, you can eat the food offered to false idols. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But if it causes your brother to stumble, if your brother sees you eating that food and it causes him to eat that food, and it causes him to worship these false idols because he doesn't understand what you're doing in your heart, he doesn't understand the heart of the Lord yet, and it causes him to stumble, then it is a sin. And I was like, man, if people see me trying to seek you and be what you want, and they see me smoking weed, and then they smoke weed, and it always leads to something else with certain people, then it's like, man, I've sinned. I've sinned big against my brother. And so that goes for all things in life, you know. And there was a time when I didn't drink either, because it was, you know, it was a time of sobriety, you know. And now I'll have a drink, special occasions like weddings or birthday parties or celebrations, but I don't drink all the time. I don't drink randomly, you know. I don't lean on drinking. It's, you know, we can get into that later, but it's okay to have a drink or two for certain people. You know, if it's a thing that if you're an alcoholic and you're trying to get over it, it's probably not okay for you to have a drink ever again. But, you know, that just depends on what God reveals to your particular heart, you know. So anyways, but that's kind of where I'm gonna stop. You know, I met my wife, and she had the baby, and we had just gotten engaged. After she got pregnant, I was like, let's do this thing. We're gonna do this thing right. Like, I love you, I'm having a child with you, I'm gonna be my child's father. We might as well just go ahead and just get married, because we had already talked about it, you know. There's a big old helicopter. So and we got engaged, and I remember the first day I got truly saved, I went to the first, you know, real church that I think I ever went to. It was called Cross Point at the time, and I just saw God's heart and who He wanted me to be. And, you know, it's funny because I bursted out in tears, right? People thought I was crying from guilt and shame, which I kind of was, but I had already been dealing with the guilt and shame. I was really more crying tears of joy, and just overabundant joy, because of this God that was real and tangible in my life. So yeah, I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing night. Well, it's nighttime here. Whenever you watch this, I hope your day, whatever, is amazing. Just keep watching, and I'll, you know, go into a little bit more about my story. Thanks, guys. You have a good one.